Hit it, Phil.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Can it be the breeze that fills the trees with rare and magic perfume? Oh, no, it isn't the breeze, it's Jackson time. La-da-da-da.
Stay tuned.
Right after this episode.
For our discussion.
See, what's that old radio doing back there, Bergen?
Well, that's what we started out on, that kind of a radio. Yeah, yes, but this is not just an ordinary radio now. Well, it has an attachment. You see, scientists have insisted that sounds do not die. The vibrations keep traveling through space. Aren't they darn? Yes. And if we have an instrument sensitive enough, we can pick up sounds of the past. This machine will do it. You don't say. Yes. Well, don't give us such a long commercial. Just turn it on. All right, I will. I think it's this button will do it. There it is. Now we'll listen.
And now we bring you the great radio comedians. 90 memorable minutes of your comedy favorites.
Hi-ho, the radio, radio, radio. Hi-ho, the radio. The radio to you, wherever you may go. You hear a radio. In a car, at a bar. Makes no difference where you are, there's one beside your bed. In every big hotel. And soon they'll have a radio in every business cell. With radios and taxi cabs, the driver's life is sweeter. Because it makes the passenger forget to read the meter. They're building model houses now with one in every room. A woman shot her husband to the tune of Love in Bloom.
It's the great radio comedians, starring Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy, George Burns, Jack Benny, Jim Fibber McGee Jordan, Bing Crosby, and the famous original denizens of Allen's Alley, Kenny Delmore as Senator Claghorn, Minerva Pius as Pansy Nussbaum, Parker Fenley as Titus Moody, and Peter Donald as Ajax Cassidy. You'll also hear from Fred Allen, Bob Hope, Gracie Allen, Marion Molly McGee Jordan, Eddie Cantor, Fanny Bryce, and others.
R-A-D-I-O.
And your announcer, Ken Roberts. As the 1940s ended, a real live radio drama was being played in 10 million American homes. The true-to-life story which asked the question, can a homely wooden box with a knobby front and plain cloth speaker continue to find love and success after 20 years in competition with a younger, more attractive medium? The 1950s answered that question, and radio as we had known it virtually disappeared. But when the 1940s began, it was a far different story. This little invention had already changed America. Think of it. For the first time in history, a single voice could speak to the entire population simultaneously.
Please.
Suddenly, we were all sharing the same telephone party line.
Lend a ray of cheer to my plea. Tell me that you love me too.
By the 1940s, radio was America's most popular art form. Everyone loved it. People arranged their lives so they wouldn't miss their favorite programs. They listened to drama, commentators, music, quiz shows. But the sounds they preferred year after year after year were the voices of the people who made them laugh, the great radio comedians.
It's Maxwell House Coffee Time, starring George Burns and Gracie Allen. With yours truly, Bill Goodwin, and the music of Meredith Wilson and his orchestra.
Oh, gosh, honey, I feel like a darn fool going to college at my age. I dread that first class.
What is your first class?
American history. And I'm terrible. When I should have been studying history, I was in vaudeville.
Oh, I'll bet you're very good in history.
You do, huh? Yesterday, the professor asked, what great American stayed longest in the capital? I answered Al Jolson.
Well, darling, even I know better than that.
Certainly.
Was Eddie Cantor. You should be proud to be going to college and learning things.
But, honey, my friends are laughing at me. Last night, the fellas called up and wanted me to go to a burlesque show with them. I had to say, I can't, guys. Haven't finished my homework.
All right. But when you do go to a burlesque show, you'll enjoy it more because you've studied anatomy.
I tell you, honey, I'm too old to go to college. Yesterday, we were discussing the Battle of Gettysburg, and the professor called on me.
Well, what's wrong with that?
He wanted an eyewitness account.
When I went into radio, practically in its infancy, the big stars of radio then was Eddie Cantor, Jason Sanbornauer, and Rudy Bally, and Amos and Andy. And then Gracie and myself, we came into radio, and Jack Benny, and Fred Allen, and everybody was in the first 10 all the time because there were only 8 acts in radio. So we're all in the first 10 all the time. All the fellas that were in radio and the women that were in radio, you couldn't keep them out of show business. We'll take Ed Wynn, let's say. Ed Wynn went from radio into television. It was the same Ed Wynn. He was doing the same character he did on the stage. Edgar Bergen was in radio, and he did that same thing with Charlie McCarthy in vaudeville. So he took that all with him, and we did the same thing. So I don't think anybody really makes the change. I don't think there's a big change. The difference between vaudeville and radio in material was the fact that in vaudeville, you did the same things every week. You were positive that the laughs were there because you had 17 minutes. You knew where every joke was. You knew where the timing was. You knew where they'd laugh. In radio, you didn't. You had to do new things every week. You had to have a good delivery. You had to have a personality. You had to have some sort of charisma, some magic. That came through the box.
Where the blue of the night meets the gold of the day, someone waits for me.
When the moon comes over the mountain.
Gracie, how's your cousin?
The one who died?
Yes.
Oh, he's all right now.
And the people that stayed in radio all had it. But they changed material every day, and the difficult thing, and it wasn't so difficult. You read it. You'd read the jokes, or you'd read the dialogue, and the property man or the sound man would slam the door, he'd pick up the telephone, you'd say hello, and you'd have a phone conversation, and he'd drop the phone, and everybody was working, and you were taking bows. Radio was much easier than television. Television, you got to pick up the phone yourself. That's not easy.
Hello? Yes. Oh, yes. Sure. I'll say. What, tonight? Yes, 7? Mm-hmm. Oh, sure. Positively. Yeah. All right. Goodbye. Goodbye. Wrong number.
I loved all the show business, but I started when I was 6 or 7 years old. I sang with the Pee Wee Quartet, used to pass the hat around. And then I played vaudeville, and I was a small-time vaudeville actor until I was 27 years old. And I was very bad, but the theaters were worse than I was. Then finally I met Gracie, and Gracie was looking to do something because she was an Irish actress before that. She was working with a fellow called Larry Riley and doing Irish sketches, and she was a great Irish dancer and a great Irish actress. And Gracie took a look at us, and I asked her whether she'd like to work with me, and, she said she would. And from then on, I turned out to be a very, very good act because she was very good. I made myself the comedian, and I came out on the stage with my hat turned up and a big red bow tie and wide pants and a very short coat, and Gracie came out dressed beautifully. She was the straight woman, and we played Boonton, New Jersey. And there wasn't much of an audience out there, but the people liked Gracie the minute they saw her. And they laughed when she asked the questions. And they didn't laugh when I told the answers. I smoked cigars and I wanted to continue smoking. So I gave her all the jokes. When Gracie took over the act, when she got to be the comedian, I had all kinds of jokes. I had sarcastic jokes, I had wisecracks, and I also had jokes that were off-center, that were sort of on the dumb side.
Yeah, well, I know I'm dizzy.
That's why I like you. I like you because you're a nice little dizzy girl.
Yeah, I know I'm dizzy. I'm glad I'm dizzy.
You're the only dizzy girl that I know that's glad she's dizzy.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm a dizzy girl because boys like dizzy girls and I like boys.
And the audience loved the dumb jokes. And they didn't laugh at the wisecracks, and they didn't laugh at the sarcasm, because Gracie was a very dainty little thing. And they wouldn't accept that from her.
Romeo and Juliet is a book written by Shakespeare where a man makes love to a girl on a balcony.
Yeah, well, that's just why I didn't read it, because I feel if a fella can't afford to take his girl in the orchestra, he shouldn't take her to a theater at all.
And she told the wildest kind of jokes. We called them illogical logic. They made sense, but only to Gracie. Those were her best jokes.
Say, that's a pretty girl over there, don't you think so?
Yeah, looks like my sister Alice.
Does it that?
Yeah.
Say, how is your sister Alice? What is she doing?
Well, you know, she was offered a $40 a week job, but she wants to save money, so she didn't take it.
Oh, she didn't take it?
No, she took a $10 job instead.
She did?
Yeah, because she figures if she loses a $10 job instead of a $40 job, she's still saving $30.
Well, look, give me a ticket and let's dance. I mean, she's still saving $40.
And her sense of concentration was simply marvelous. To Gracie, there was no audience, and there were no footlights. That was a wall as far as Gracie was concerned. There were just four walls. And if anybody needed a straight man, it was Gracie, because she'd never wait for anything. She talked natural. You know, when you talk, you don't wait for laughs unless somebody says something, you know, that can time it, which was my job. I wouldn't, not with very big lines. My lines were, oh, well, I did all kinds of great stuff.
Here's a nice little waterproof number, a little summer number. Do you like it?
Oh, yeah. Say, you know, my brother went in swimming yesterday. He stayed under the water 6 hours.
6 hours?
Yeah.
If you stay under the water 5 minutes, you die.
Yeah, I know. He found that out.
He found that out, huh? How do you like this hat? Here's a nice sailor hat.
Yeah, oh, that reminds me of my cousin.
Your
You
cousin?
know, my cousin has a lovely new swimming pool.
Is that so?
Yeah, oh, we were over there yesterday. We had more fun. We were swimming and diving.
Swimming and diving?
Yes.
Believe me, that is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it'll even be better tomorrow when they put water in it.
Water in it?
Yes.
We went on the Rudy Valley show, and we did very well. And about a week later, we went on the Guy Lombardo show. It was Guy Lombardo and his Royal Canadians, the sweetest music this side of heaven. And then Lombardo left the show, and we took over the show, and that's the way we started radio.
Not only can I make up riddles, George, I can also tell you what you're thinking about. I'm a mind reader.
Listen, Gracie, is there anything that phases you?
I don't think so.
No.
All right, now, think of something.
Well, all right, I'm thinking.
Is it green?
Is what green?
Does it hang from the ceiling and whistle?
Does what hang from the ceiling and whistle?
Does it run along the floor and sing?
Listen.
Does it climb up buildings and swim?
Just a minute. I thought you said that you could read my mind.
Well, George, how can I read your mind if you keep on asking me all those silly questions?
I'm asking you. Listen, let's talk about something else. How is your brother?
My brother? Oh, well, I think they ought to open up all the prisons. It would help prosperity.
Wait a minute. That's the wrong answer.
No, that's the right answer, but you asked the wrong question.
And when she was about 34 or 35 years old, she said to me, I can't do this character anymore. I'm too old to be that silly. And I said, no, you're not, because if you're born stupid, you stay stupid all your life. You're stupid when you're 1 year old, and when you're 10 years old, and when you're 80 years old. But your dialogue, your routines have to fit your age. Like when we first started, we did a joke where Gracie had a little whistle, and I said, I'm going to kiss her. And she said,
You see this? That's a policeman's whistle. That's if fellas get fresh or try to kiss me. I blow that and the policeman comes.
And a policeman comes?
Yeah.
Well, go on and call a policeman.
Well, you're pretty lucky it's broken from last night.
I says, now that joke you can do when you're 22, but you can't do that when you're 35. I says, now you do jokes like you're putting 2 roasts in the oven, a small roast and a big roast, and when the little roast burns, you know the big one is done. I said, that fits you when you're 35. So finally, I convinced her, and she went along for the rest of her life playing that character. When your rating drops, when you drop 5 points at a time, or 6 points, or 3 points, then there's something against you that night, and that means your next rating will go up. Some big event is taking place. But when you start to drop a point at a time, and a half a point, and a half a point, and a point, you're in real trouble. That means you are losing your audience. And we were then together about, I would say about 8 or 9 years. We had 2 children, Ronnie and Sandy. But we were still doing a street corner act on radio. In other words, Gracie would flirt with the announcer. When our rating dropped, I went to all of my friends. I went to Jack Benny, and I said, Jack, I wish you'd listen to our show. There's something going wrong. Our rating is dropping. He says, well, you're not doing enough double routines. I went to Georgie Jessel, and Jessel listened, and he said, you're doing too many double routines. Then I went to Eddie Cantor, and Eddie Cantor says, Gracie isn't laughing enough. Somebody said Gracie was laughing enough. Then somebody said, you better use the 8-ball mic, which was out of style. He says, when you use the 8-ball mic, you had a great rating. But something happened to you after you stopped using the 8-ball mic. So I put back an obsolete mic, an 8-ball mic. Did everything. Nothing helped us, a rating. Finally, at 4 o'clock in the morning, I was thinking I wanted to stay in show business. I loved it. And it finally dawned on me. I says, our jokes are too young for us. We're much older than the jokes we're telling. We're married people. And that did it. And the next show I went on, I says, Gracie and I have been married for 8 or 9 years. We have 2 lovely children. And from then on, we wrote different jokes. They were older, and they fitted us. Our rating went up.
I dropped by to wish you luck tonight, Jenny. I know you're going to win the award.
Well, now, I wouldn't be too sure of that, Gracie. My competition will be very stiff.
Well, take a few drinks yourself.
I met Olivia de Havilland was awfully good in the snake pit.
Oh, but Janie, she had such an easy part.
An easy part? Gracie, she had to play a crazy girl.
I could do that with my eyes closed. Janie, I'm sure you're going to win that Oscar tonight. Are you nervous?
Gracie, I'm as nervous as a bride.
Oh, well, then I know just how you feel. I remember my wedding day.
Imagine getting so keyed up over the possibilities of getting a little lifeless imitation figure of a man.
Well, he wasn't so lifeless when I married him.
And the funny thing is, after Gracie retired, and I didn't want to retire, so I was retired for the 38 years while I worked with Gracie. I said nothing. All I said was, for 38 years, how's your brother? He got tired of saying it. Then when Gracie retired, I had to go into show business. And I had to open a whole new career for myself, which I did. You know, I started to sing, and I started to fool around and become a monologist, make fun of my cigars, and here I am.
It's the new Edgar Bergen Hour with Johnny McCarthy.
I'll clip you, Bergen. Help me, I'll mow you down.
And here are Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy.
Radio made it possible for a wooden dummy to realize Pinocchio's dream of becoming a real live boy. Charlie McCarthy became one of the most popular stars of all, with a little help, of course, from the unique comic genius of Edgar Bergen.
You know, Bergen,
Yes, Charlie?
I've never made a will.
Is there anything I can do?
Yeah. Would you take this down?
Yes, of course.
I, Charlie McCarthy, being of sound mind,
Yes?
Otherwise, in a heck of a mess. That's all.
Yeah.
Do hereby bequeath my telephone book and numbers to Skinny Dugan, my pal. And to you, Bertie, I leave all the money you owe me.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Also my pet rat.
What would I do with a pet rat?
Well, maybe you could teach him to talk.
I shall see that all your possessions are disposed of.
Well, only if I die.
Only if you die.
Don't go out of your way.
No, I won't. I didn't mean it that way, Charlie, because if anything should happen to you, why, I don't know what I would do.
No?
No, I just hate to think about it.
Is the thought of work really that unpleasant to you?
Charlie McCarthy caught on in such a big way. And the fact maybe that they couldn't see him, they couldn't be sure that he was a dummy, you know, because for 3 years I was answering letters. Is it true that Charlie is not a human being, that you're talking for both of them? Well, Charlie became famous, so famous that there were many articles with his name on them.
When he hears the news of our next Sunday's death, he will shine his shoes, get his tuxedo pressed. To meet Virginia Wiser, he will want to look his best. Charlie is his name.
We had the good fortune of receiving quite a few awards.
And now I'm going to suggest that all the patrol members here indicate their vote for you as an honorary member, and a good round of applause for Charlie McCarthy, the schoolboy patrolman.
What have you got to say for yourself with this decoration?
Well, it's a long story, Bergen.
Yes.
It's a long story. And a dirty one.
Of course, we went to the World's Fair in New York and appeared there.
Oh, Charlie, how do you like the fair?
I think it's wonderful, Mayor.
Wonderful. Did you bring Darby Lamore with you?
Yeah, but Mayor, come. You wolf, you.
Say, Charlie,
Yeah?
what sort of exhibits would you like to see?
Well, I'll tell you, Grover. How about the girly shows, huh?
Oh, no. Some
No?
scientific shows.
Oh, poo. Come on. Girly shows, huh?
Maybe afterwards.
Well, move me down. No girly shows. After what? Oh, after what? Okay.
All the girls say he's the honey. He's not like the other chaps. While they spend all their money, he spends his time on their laps.
He may start with school, the longest way around. Wind up in a pool, the other side of town. Whenever you have trouble, call on him to mow him down. Charlie is his name.
I had my first dummy. I made it from a mask, a Halloween mask, and it worked fairly well as a start when I was in the 8th grade. And that was the beginning of my ventriloquism. In my senior year in high school, I got Charlie McCarthy. I saw a newsboy outside of the high school building, a little Irish newsboy in front of Lakeview High School in Chicago, and I sketched a picture of him in my history book. I took that to the woodcarver who made ventriloquist dummies, and I got Charlie from the woodcarver, in about May or so, early in May, last of April, and I appeared on a student recital, we called it, in Lakeview High School. That is for all the students and the faculty. Well, I was booked on Chautauqua that summer, so I felt pretty cocky anyway, and I knew there was a career ahead of me. Well, I went to vaudeville in the fall, and Charlie was a newsboy, a little urchin with a little beanie on and short pants, and he was selling newspapers. We did this for 10 years, all over America, England, and Canada, and then in the 30s, vaudeville started dying out. So I was booked to play the Helen Morgan Club in New York. I didn't think a newsboy was quite the thing for the nightclubs. I guess it would have worked, but I'd asked Esquire magazine if I could make a dummy of Esky. They thought it was a good idea, but then they changed their mind. They thought they'd rather have Esky be known as a magazine rather than a ventriloquist dummy. So there was nothing for me to do then but to make Charlie the man about town. So that's how we got in monocle, top hat, and tails. When the head of J. Walter Thompson heard that they'd booked a ventriloquist on the Rudy Valley show, a ventriloquist, he says, well, he damn well better be funny. That was the start. The idea was ridiculous, you know, of a ventriloquist on radio. My own show, originating in Hollywood, started in about May of 1937. And that was an hour show. It was a big show. And we had Don Amici, Dorothy Lamour, W.C. Fields and another guest star every week. Being on the air for 20 years, we had to cover an awful lot of subjects, and Charlie got into about everything that a boy could get into. As years went on, I had to add to the cast.
How do you do? Won't you sit down? That's a good trick. City slicker.
So I created the character of Mortimer, and Mortimer, fortunate choice was that he was a direct opposite of Charlie. He was not good-looking, he was afraid of the girls, he was bashful, and he was stupid, but he was lovable.
Mortimer, do you know the name of the stars?
Oh, no, I don't know their names.
That's Saturn over there.
Oh, how do you do?
Over there is Mars.
That's Mars.
Yes. And did you know that Mars and the Earth have the same sun?
No, I didn't even know they was married.
Then as time went on, I introduced a third character, which was Effie Clinker. Effie Clinker is a bachelor girl. Her life has not been without love, it's just been sad love. It's just been tragic.
Tell me, Miss Clinker, are you married?
No. No, I'm not.
I see.
No. Darn it, no.
I see. Thinking of marrying anyone?
Yes.
Who?
Anyone. I don't care.
Well, now, what must this man have to be your choice?
Well, first of all, he must be a man.
He must be a man. And then?
I don't care.
You know.
Those were the three characters I used on the radio show. Candy accepted Charlie. Charlie resented Candy a little bit because he had to move out of her room because Charlie had his own room. But they were very good friends. And when she was about 3 years old, she would sit on one knee and Charlie would sit on my other knee. And they would talk back and forth. And she would play along with the thing and it was just fine. So I said to myself, I'm either an awfully good ventriloquist or my daughter's a little stupid. So I pressed my luck and I said, Candy, isn't it wonderful how Charlie can talk? And she says, yes, it is, Daddy, but you do move your lips a little. Charlie's style, our style of comedy, he was fresh. He didn't show respect either for me or for our guests, and that made for the fun. Well, I think the fact that he was a puppet made it harmless, you know, but also I could say things through Charlie that I could never say myself. What's your outstanding memory of radio, Charlie? Your favorite guest?
Well, of course, W.C. Fields has to be number one.
I guess he does.
Yeah.
Oh, the fights we had.
Yeah. Remember when he said to me, come over to my house, I'll let you ride piggyback on a buzzsaw?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And I said, is that your nose, Mr. Fields, or are you eating a tomato?
Yes.
Yes, it's W.C. Fields, all right. Oh, can you see him? Well, I can just see a little of it.
Yeah?
I can see him sticking his nose in the door. Sticking his nose in the door, yes.
Oh, well, then it'll be 5 minutes before he gets here.
Hello, Edgar. How are you?
Oh, hello, Mr. Fields. Hello.
Where's the little woodpecker snack bar?
Yeah, well, now, Bill, I can explain everything about that incident.
You see, he was setting a skunk trap. That's what he was doing.
Thanks for the compliment.
Oh, well, I didn't mean it that way.
That's okay. Nevertheless, the other evening, as I was traversing my garden in search of flora and fauna, Flora is my cook, you know.
Oh, I see.
Rather likable young lady.
Uh-huh.
Makes wonderful crepes
Yes.
to sell.
Well, I believe all that, but that's really none of my
Well, I was walking along when I unexpectedly tripped, and the next thing I knew, I was prostrate on terra firma.
Oh.
Which was not unusual in itself, but the circumstance...
I can believe that. But, Bill, let's get back to the skunk trap, remember?
Oh, you mean Flora?
No.
Oh.
The skunk trap.
I see what you mean.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, it was quite an experience.
Yes.
As I hurried to the hospital, clang, clang, clang.
Clang. Yes, I remember that.
After 2 days in the hospital, I took a turn for the nurse. Work. And they took some beautiful x-rays of my leg. 6 reels of them.
6 reels, that's fine. Feature, huh?
Yeah.
What'd they find, Bill, in your...
Just as I expected, they found my leg was hollow.
Is that
Good evening, Mr. Fields.
What did he say?
I said,
Good evening, that's all.
Let's not jump at conclusions.
Charlie, I've been telling Mr. Fields that you want to apologize. Now, isn't that right?
Yes, it is. Yes, I do, Mr. Fields. I do.
How lovable, little nipper.
Remember how we used to fight, Mr. Fields? Foolish, wasn't it?
Remember the time I said I'd slice you into a Venetian blind?
Yeah.
That was a good one. I think I don't know, was it?
Remember how I topped you by saying that makes me shudder?
Who said you topped me?
I topped you.
Why, the only laugh you ever got was a sneer from a disgruntled termite.
Please, gentlemen.
Bergen, I'm afraid Mr. Fields just doesn't love me anymore, that's all.
Don't tell me I don't love you, or I'll break every knot in your body.
Now, wait a minute. People often ask me whether W.C. Fields really hated Charlie, you know, and resented him getting laughs and things. There's no truth in that at all. Fields was a wonderful character because he was a harmless villain. It was harmless, synthetic hate, and you could see through it. He was a great man to work with. And, of course, we both agreed this would be the script, and we would assemble it, and then, of course, we would both go and dirty it up or sneak in little toppers that we wouldn't tell the other one about. And sometimes we'd get so far off that they would have to come and give us the sign, you know, 1 minute you got to quit or 2 minutes. Oh, then there was another one, of course, that you feuded with. Mr. Lawton, Charles Lawton.
Hello, Charles. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
You had one fight 1 week, and then the next week, you both agreed to apologize. And Lawton says, I apologize for what I said last week.
I remember that. And you know what I said?
No.
I said, Mr. Lawton, I not only apologize for what I said last week, but for what I'm going to say to you today.
Yeah. And then you asked him,
Mr. Lawton, is it true that you played the Hunchback of Notre Dame without any makeup?
oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, there were so many of them, like with Clark Gable.
So you're Charlie McCarthy.
Yeah. So you're Clark Gable.
Well, I'm Edgar Bergen.
So what?
Between us, Charlie, to what do you attribute your great success as a Casanova? Will you tell me?
Well, now, I really...
Come on, Charlie.
Oh, I don't
Come on.
know.
Come on, you can be frank with me.
Yes, I know, but does Garbo tell Dietrich?
I think I've got a picture of one of your favorite lady friends.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, let's see, I had a few... Oh, Marilyn Monroe. Oh, yeah. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, remember when you were engaged to Marilyn?
Yeah.
Prime Minister Churchill, he said, this is America's darkest hour.
Yeah.
If Charles McCarthy insists on marrying Miss Monroe, I have only this to say. Never before has one so little taken so much from so many. Well, then there was one other girl, Charlie.
Yeah?
Yes, one that really was exciting. Mae West was on the show.
Oh, boy. We went into hiding afterwards?
Yes. When she said hello, it kind of sounded sexy.
Oh, hello, short, dark, and handsome.
Hello, tall, blonde, and terrific.
Say, Charlie, do you smell that perfume?
Yeah.
Isn't it ravishing?
Yes, it is. It's ravishing. It's weakening. So help me, I'm swooning. What is it?
Why, it's my favorite perfume, Ashes of Men.
Uh-oh. Ashes of men. Holy smoke. She's not going to make a sinner out of me.
Tell me, Miss West, have you ever found the one man in your life that you could really love?
Sure, lots of times.
Oh,
Oh, you look pretty good to me, Charlie. Come here. You ain't afraid I'll do you wrong.
Well, now that you ask,
Oh, you're afraid I'll do you right.
Well, I'm slightly confused. I need time for that one, May.
That's all right. I like a man what takes his time.
Well...
Come here. I'll show you how to act.
Oh, but May, don't be so rough. To me, love is peace and quiet.
That ain't love, that's sleep.
Of course, the most unusual broadcast we ever had was at Fort Ord, Northern California. We did the broadcast, there must have been 20 or 30,000 men there. And after the show was over, I do an after show for the men with Charlie, and I was doing a routine, having fun, and they were laughing. And an officer came in, and he says, Company 2248 Signature, report to your barracks immediately. And Charlie says, very funny, very funny. So I finished the routine, and anything goes, you know. So it was through, and I said, what was the gag? He says, Japan has just bombed Pearl Harbor. We're at war.
Still going, he's up to the 25, and now he's hit and hit hard about the 27-yard line. Bruiser Kennard made the tackle. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you this important bulletin from the United Press. Flash, Washington. The White House announces Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate, of the House of Representatives, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the drums coming everywhere, so prepare, send the word to beware, we'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.
Good job! Army of the United States. You also see these presents greeting. Know ye that reposing special trust and confidence in the fidelity and abilities of Charles McCarthy, I do hereby appoint him Honorary Master Sergeant, U.S. Army Air Corps, Army of the United States.
Pardon me. I think I got caught in the draft.
Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the drums coming everywhere, so prepare, send the word to beware, we'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.
Your kind indulgence. The Mercury Theater welcomes all you servicemen to an hour or two of magic, hanky-panky, hocus-pocus, and humbug. We trust you like to be fooled. We hope we fool you.
These are Army Signal Corps and Air Force pictures of a USO camp show bringing Hollywood to the boys in the South Pacific. Yes, sir. G.I. Joe sure loves his bumps-a-daisy. Yuck, oh, shucks. But look who's here, Bob Holt.
I just want you boys to see what you're fighting for, that's all.
Then a jungle fighter shows Bob a trick. Now you grab his hair, Bob. Oh, yeah? A grapefruit has more hair than that honeydew head. The boys love autographs of Francis Langford and Patty Thomas.
Anybody care for an autograph? Autograph, please.
Yeah, they love autographs of Francis Langford and Patty Thomas. So Bob dots Kelowna's G.I.
I got here last night, so I had to sleep in the barracks with the men. You know what barracks are, 2,000 cots separated by individual crap games.
Boy, what rugged guys these Marines are. Today, one of them pulled off his shirt, handed me a tattoo needle, and said, "Okay, make with the autograph, boy." And these Marines stick together and have a wonderful esprit de corps. Esprit de corps, that's a French expression meaning see if she's got a sister. You know, during the time they stay in boot camp, these Marines have to forget completely about girls. In fact, at midnight, the sergeant goes through the barracks with a flashlight, waking up anybody that has a smile on his face. We got a nod. Everybody know that?
You're kidding.
Oh, Mersey dotes and dozy dotes and little armsy divey, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? Irsy dotes and trusty dotes and little armsy divey, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? A-dum-dum-dee.
Bob liked to do camp shows because the troops provided him with the enthusiastic kind of an audience that he relished. He likes to hear those big laughs, those big belly laughs. Sounded good on the radio, you know.
Somebody's flat. Thank you. And don't you stare at me.
I've seen Bob lots of times when we'd be on the road and be up late and traveling and tough schedules, and he'd be exhausted, and we'd arrive at a particular cantonment or military installation where we're going to work, and he would walk out on the stage and get that big burst of applause and those big laughs, and you just see him pick right out physically. It was like a shot in the arm. Oh, we were old friends from vaudeville. I worked vaudeville with Hope when he did an act with a young lady. I think he was kind of a straight man for the young lady, if I recall. And he did a little stale dance. He was very fresh then, and still is. Kind of the popular impression of the boy down the street, you know, the smarty, like the wise guy with the straw hat and all the jokes, and the kind of a fellow that is popular in the neighborhood, full of zip and full of beans, and can get away with things that hardly anybody else could get away with because he had a lot of personal appeal. We appeared together on the radio many times before the road picture, doing these kind of jokes, which led Paramount people to believe that they could create a comedy series for the two of us.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Perhaps you can help me, Santa. I don't know the store very well around here, and I'm looking for a present for a friend of mine, Bob Hope. Why don't you buy him whatever he needs the most? Well, now, that's an idea, yeah. Where can I get a large package of talent?
Look, avocado top. Yeah, if that head was any smaller, you could use a plumber's friend for an umbrella.
I don't understand all this indignation, Junior. What do you expect me to get you for Christmas? Miss America wrapped in cellophane or something?
Stop bragging. You couldn't get within a mile of Miss America with Errol Flynn on a leash.
I shall demonstrate to all concerned just who is the biker and who has the generous heart in this team. Now, for your Christmas gift from me, I want you to pick out anything in the place.
Very generous ad-libbing.
No, I mean it. I mean it. Young lady.
Yeah. I'll take that.
No.
The Lucky Strike program starring Jack Benny with Mary Livingston, Phil Harris, Rochester, Dennis Day, and yours truly, Don Wilson.
Fred Allen said about Jack Benny, he was the first to realize that the listener is not in a theater with 1,000 other people, but is in a small circle at home. Jack Benny was not only the most successful comedian in radio, he also revolutionized radio comedy. Until he came along, it was pretty much vaudeville with a microphone.
Why, certainly, Snooks.
You want to buy a duck?
No.
You never do that. No, never do that.
Jack Benny was a new type of comic on radio with a new type of delivery. He was suave and bland and unctuous, where previously probably some of the comedy had been a little baggy pants, a little knockabout. Different, he was different.
I don't think that anybody, a comedian or an actor of any kind, says to himself at any time, I think I'm going to develop a style. I don't think he would know how to do that. I think you just find it. Innately, there's something that you do that you find out works for you. some comedians talk very fast. They go from one joke to another joke to another joke, maybe topical humor. Now, I discovered when I first started to talk on the stage that would not have been my style. My style was to talk on a subject and stay on the subject.
Mr. Benny, do you think daylight saving time has benefited us in any way?
Well, yes, in many ways. Of course, it has its bad points, too. One is the timetable situation. For instance, you look at a timetable and find that your train leaves at 6 p.m. But when you arrive at the station, you find they mean standard time. So it really leaves at 7. You get on the train at 7 and arrive at your destination, which has no daylight saving time, at 6:30. Of course, your watch now shows 7:30. So you rush to keep a dinner appointment with your girl, which you made for 7 o'clock, daylight saving time. Then she shows up a half hour later, standard time, and not seeing you there, breaks off her engagement, becomes despondent, and takes poison. So in that case, the only one who benefits by the daylight saving time is the fellow who sold her the poison. Is there anything else?
Now, this I found out very early in my career. That's the way I seemed to start years and years and years ago. When I found out on the stage, I found out in vaudeville, that that's the way I must talk. I found out it was my style to talk slowly, to stay on a subject, to make it conversational, and not to make it jokey. We never did anything that we thought was going to last. We never framed anything. We never started anything that we said. For instance, I've never gone to my writers, and they never went to me, and came to me and said, let's make you a stingy character. Let's make Love and Bloom your theme song. Let's have a feud between you and Fred Allen. See, if we'd have framed all of that ahead of time, it would have never worked out. It always started by an accident. By accident, we wrote a couple of stingy jokes, and then they got big laughs, so we, each week or every third week, we would put in a few stingy jokes, and before I knew it, I was a stingy man.
Sure is dark tonight. No moon. Oh, well. Yada-dee-da-dum, da-dee-da-dum, da-dum, dum-dee-da-da-dum.
Hey, Bud. Bud.
Huh?
You got a match?
Yes, I have one right here.
Don't make a move. This is a stick-up.
Mister, put down that gun.
Shut up. I said this is a stick-up. Now, come on. Your money or your life. Look, Bud. I said your money or your life. I'm thinking it over.
I didn't start out by saying I want Love and Bloom as my theme song. I would have hated Love and Bloom as my theme song. I don't like it today as my theme song. I like it as a song.
No, it's not Isaac Stern. It's you know
I was 36 for years. Then I was 37 and 38. Then we stopped at 39 because 39 is a funny number. 40 isn't. The feud with Fred Allen started by Fred Allen insulting me on his show, knowing that I was going to be listening. And so I answered him. Then he answered me. Then I answered him. We were in the feud for 8 or 9 months before we even discussed it with each other. That's why it was successful.
Jack Benny handled radio as good or better than anybody, than any of the comedians. he knew just the things that he did. He made use of pauses and of waits, like Jack Benny going over to Ronald Coleman's house he borrowed a cup of sugar, and he went over to Ronald. Well, when Jack Benny goes to Ronald Coleman's house, he goes there, goes down 8 steps, then he walks on the sidewalk, then he's carrying the cup, and after that, as a man passes him and drops 10 cents in the cup, and you hear the 10 cents drop, and Jack says, thank you, then he walks again, and walks up 8 steps, rings the bell. There was no hurry with Jack. He knew how to use these weights and knew how to use radio.
Nearly every good comedian has good timing. They couldn't be good without it. Burns has great timing. Ed Wynn had the greatest. Gracie Allen had probably the greatest. Well, she was the great of all time when it came to timing. You have to have real good timing or you can't exist as a comedian.
Everything Jack Benny did, he'd hold on to. He had the Maxwell car, and he had the bear. Well, I forget the bear's name. And he'd do things like when he went down into the vault, and he had this crocodile down there, or the man living there for 60 years that never, you know, the worst, but it was fun.
Now, getting back to your expense accounts, I want you kids to be more careful in the future, but I'll pay you off now. Wait here, I'll go into my vault and get the money. Please turn your backs. Friend or foe? Friend. What's the password? Password? Oh, yeah. A fool and his money are soon parted.
Oh, it's you, Mr. Benny.
That's right. Take out your gun, Ed. I'm going to open the safe.
Yes, sir.
There.
You see, in radio, you could visualize everything yourself. Like my vault scenes were easier to do on radio than in television. Now, the reason my character sustained over so many years, like you say, how could things go on and on? Well, because I played a character that included all the faults and the frailties, I think that's the right word, and the frailties of mankind. See, every family had somebody like me. Either they had an uncle who was stingy, or one who thought he was very sexy and he wasn't. So every family has that kind of a person. The different characterizations, you know, we made Phil Harris a sort of a smart alecky guy. He either left a pool room or a bar or a girl.
Well, that's about all I can take. I'm going to the bar and start warming up for New Year's Eve.
When Dennis came in, you knew he was always vague about something.
Now, look, let's go in the other room.
Oh, say, Mr. Benny.
What?
You see this tie I'm wearing? My girl knitted it for me for Christmas.
The tie? What are those things hanging on the side?
She started to make a sweater and changed her mind.
Mary always sort of ran my life, even though she wasn't supposedly married to me.
I'm in my late 30s, or my early 40s.
You were in your early 40s and the gay 90s.
And I would see to it that the material I gave them almost fit their characters personally, and particularly their speaking voices.
Oh, Mr. Benny!
What is it, Rochester?
I baked that cake like you told me to.
Good.
Oh, Rochester, will you please take these Christmas tree lights and fix them?
Fix them?
Yes.
I ain't fooling around with electricity.
Well, what are you afraid of?
I don't want to get hit by nothing I can't hit back.
Rochester played my butler, my valet, my chauffeur, who had a right to insult me because I was the kind of a fella that was the cause of it.
Hello again. This is Jack Benny, the lone wolf, talking. Can't get a date. I can have a date every night in the week if I want to.
Oh, I didn't mean anything, Jack. I just wanted to start out with a laugh, that's all.
Well, there's very little humor getting laughs at other people's expense. And that reminds me, come here a minute, Don. Did you hear Fred Allen last Wednesday night?
Oh, sure. It was a swell program. It was really great.
Don't review it, Don. Just answer yes or no. Did you hear Allen make those innuendos? You know, those slurring remarks about my violin playing?
Yes, I did.
Pretty catty, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know. He was just kidding, and you're taking it seriously.
Well, so would Heifetz or any other musician.
Hello, Jack.
Well, as I live and breathe and stand under a strong light so people won't mistake the wrinkles in my face for a washboard. Oh, if it ain't Portland.
I mean Mary. Hope he heard that.
What's the matter with you, Jack?
Plenty. Did you hear Fred Allen Wednesday?
Yeah. Gee, that was a funny program. What laughs. Wow.
Don't elaborate, you little traitor. The way he talked about my violin playing, I ought to sue him.
You ought to sue your teacher, too.
That, imagine saying that I couldn't play Flight of the Bumblebee at the age of 10. I played Flight of the Bumblebee so often, I got the hive.
I bet you stung up the whole town with it.
This I actually remember, start of the feud, because the feud started the week before when a little 10-year-old boy played the violin. And when he got through, Fred, knowing that I always listened to his radio show, he made some derogatory remark. He said, to think that a boy 10 years old can play the violin like that, Jack Benny ought to be ashamed of himself. And I jumped on it. And then he picked it on from there.
Enough is enough.
Look, they want me to play Love and
No,
Blue.
they don't want you. They want you not to play Love and Blue. Mr. Benny killed vaudeville. Today, the murderer returns to the scene of his crime. I have the ad right here in the paper, Mr. Benny. It says the biggest show in town, 14 days only, due to Mr. Benny's prior commitments. You have to put it in there. You're going back with the good humor, people. I mean, you have to put it says... It says the biggest show in New York, you will die laughing. Now, the show is over, and I'm still alive. I would like to have my money back. I would like to have my money back. I paid 80
Fred, I'm
cents.
sorry. You paid 80 cents. If you want your money back, you'll have to go to the box office.
They told me at the box office you're taking it out after every show. They told me I should come to you direct.
Now, wait a minute. 80 cents. The show cost 80 cents.
80 cents
Now, look
to
what you
get
got for 80 cents. You got the Sportsman Quartet, Marjorie Reynolds, Rochester, Phil Harris, and myself. Now, you did like the Sportsman Quartet.
Very good, very good.
Is that worth 15 cents?
15 cents of anybody's money. 4 for 15
That's
is
right.
good.
Okay.
4 for 15.
Marjorie Reynolds, is that worth a quarter, Marjorie Reynolds?
Let me see. You drive a hard bargain. A quarter. Yes, I'll
40 cents.
40 cents. I'll give in 40 cents.
All right, 40 cents.
40 cents.
All right, that's 40 cents. Now, Rochester.
Rochester, very good.
That's
Excellent.
certainly worth 20 cents, isn't it?
Yes, 20 cents.
That's 60 cents.
60 cents.
All right. Now, Phil Harris is worth a dime. Is that right?
8 cents.
All right. 8 cents. All right. That's 68 cents. That leaves you 12 cents.
12 cents. I would like to have 12 cents.
Look, and remember, this is my last quarter that I got with me. I didn't get paid yet. I got to have dinner. I got to have a sandwich. I got to have something to eat.
You're in here all day.
I'm going to be here all day. I haven't even got money to ride home. Not even on the bus. Nothing.
Go home tonight? Well, how are you going to get home? With your
I don't
legs
know.
will give away about 9 o'clock. You'll never be able to
That's
walk
it. Well, if you could just let me have a dime so I could get back on the bus.
The bus?
That's right. That's all. Thanks very, very much.
Fred Allen's humor was in the tradition of Mark Twain and Will Rogers. So you can see why he liked this quote by George Bernard Shaw. If you want to tell people the truth, you better make them laugh or they'll kill you. One of the most fondly remembered features of the Fred Allen Show in the 40s is Allen's Alley.
Parker.
Hello, Parker. We've reunited in this studio the original members of the Alley to recreate their roles in a script written especially for this show by Harry Bailey, who wrote for Fred Allen in the 40s. The voice of Fred Allen will be impersonated by Al Burney.
Well, it's time for another visit to Allen's Alley. This week, the government announced that it may be necessary to raise the income tax. So our question for tonight is, what is your reaction to a possible rise in the income tax? Here we are at Senator Claghorn's house. I see the senator is home. His team of mules is hitched in the guest room. Well, let's knock.
Somebody thumped my portal. Claghorn's name, Senator Claghorn at it. Oh, it's you, son.
Yes, good evening, Senator.
Son, I got no time to be standing here filibustering with you. I'm busier than a one-toothed mouse in a room full of cheddar.
The Senate has you hopping, eh?
That ain't the half of it, son. This session has the whole Senate upset. Just today in the cloakroom, I heard Senator Byrd singing the blues.
You mean the,
Byrd singing, that's a joke, son.
I'm sorry,
I keep chucking them at you, you keep flubbing them. Look alive, son, on your toes.
I'll try, Senator. What are you up to these days in the Senate?
A big medical research project, son. My committee has appropriated the money to cure the common cold.
You found a cure for the common cold?
Son, there ain't a rabbit in that laboratory with the sniffles.
Why, that's wonderful, Senator. You've eliminated the common cold.
Not so fast, son.
But you said...
This cure won't work for people.
You mean...
But if you know a rabbit with a cold, you just send him to me.
Senator, our question tonight is about a rise in the income tax.
Yeah, well, it's got to happen, son. We got the Ways and Means Committee.
Ways and Means Committee?
Yeah, no matter what ways you figure out to keep it, we'll find the means to take it away from you. So long, son. So long, that is.
Now, let's see what Mr. Moody thinks about the rise in the income tax.
Howdy, Bub.
Well, Mr. Moody, you're looking chipper.
Well, every reason I should. I just got a clean bill of health.
You went to the doctor?
No. The vet come here.
You were examined by a veterinarian?
Yeah, he come to look over the stock.
Yes.
So I sneaked down to the barn and stood in one of the stalls.
I see.
The vet's nearsighted. After feeling my withers and counting my teeth...
What did he say?
Said I ought to win a blue ribbon. Didn't expect that one, did you?
Actually, no.
I ain't all rube, you know.
Well, Mr. Moody, what do you think about the proposed rise in the income tax?
Don't mean nothing to me.
You mean you don't care if the tax rises or not?
Nah, I'm always ready for them fellas.
You are?
Every year when it comes income tax time.
Yes?
Every year when it comes income tax time.
Yes?
I drop whatever I'm doing and I go deer hunting.
But what does going deer hunting have to do with your income tax?
Well, no matter what I owe...
No matter what you owe...
I can always send them a couple of bucks. So long, Bub.
Well, let's try this next door.
No?
Well, Mrs. Nussbaum.
You were expecting maybe Shapiro Agnew.
You're all dressed up, Mrs. Ann. Are you going to a party?
I'm coming from a wedding.
I see. A relative, perhaps.
My second cousin once removed on my mother's side. Anastasia Pink is by name.
Did the father give the bride away?
Gladly. You see, a beauty, Anastasia is not.
Then how did they find her a husband?
Oh, they employed the services of Rappaport the matchmaker. A miracle worker.
I see.
Rappaport looked high and low. Finally, he found the boy.
And he introduced him to Anastasia?
Oh, not yet. He's afraid one peak and all is lost, you understand. So he arranges that he not see Anastasia until after the ceremony when she removes her veil.
Did the bride wear something old?
Her mother's sneakers.
Something new?
A genuine simulated rhinestone lavalier, compliments of Corvettes.
something borrowed.
The money for the license.
And something blue.
Oh, this is the color the groom is turning when he sees Anastasia.
Well, Mrs. Nussbaum, what do you think about them raising the income tax?
Oh, I'm glad you asked me because the income tax is leading to the biggest mistake of my life.
Just what was that big mistake?
I went to an expert, excuse the expression.
You're excused.
In the window is a sign reading, taxes prepared, but also free snacks.
So you went in?
Naturally. And over the lox and cream cheese, he filled out my form.
Yes.
And over the borscht, he totaled my income.
I see.
And when it came to the kreplach, he is adding my deductions.
And when he finished...
We held hands through the cheesecake crumbs.
You mean the tax expert became...
My husband, Pierre. Thank you.
Well, I see Ajax Cassidy is home. His shamrock underwear is drying on the line.
Here now, who's causing all the ruckus? Who's beating the rigadoon on the
just a
entryway?
moment here,
Who's disturbing the pace? Oh, it's you, me boy. How do you do? How do you do?
Well, Mr. Cassidy, how are you?
Terrible, terrible, terrible. I'm not long for this world. I am suffering from Brannigan's complaint.
Brannigan's complaint?
You see, I owe Knocko Brannigan $5. Last night he asked me for it. When I told him I didn't have it...
Yes?
He registered his complaint with his fists.
Say, that's too bad. Well, Mr. Cassidy, what do you think of the rise in the income tax?
Me boy, 'tis of no importance to me at all, with 17 dependents.
You support 17 dependents?
I do.
That would be Mrs. Cassidy and...
And the bartending staff at McCaffrey's Saloon. Goodbye to you, boy.
I didn't actually copy anybody in the news for the senator. I had played a character that I called Dynamite Gus. And I say Dynamite had a faculty of repeating, because you might not have heard. I say, you might not have heard what he said. We're saying that is, you know, because it was very important that you hear what he was saying. That's a joke. Now laugh it up. Be alert, girl. Well, that was my Dynamite Gus. That's the character that Minnie Pius told Fred about, and he heard it and loved it and made him a senator.
In the alley, I played Pansy Nussbaum. It was a character that I'd played from time to time before the alley was formed. And then when censorship got tight, with the war coming in Europe, it was already there, in fact. He decided on these characters for the alley. And he gave the same woman the name Pansy Nussbaum. Nussbaum means nut tree in German.
Well, I was born old, and I'd been doing old men and farmers mostly for many, many years since I was quite young. Perhaps you've guessed I'm from New England, and he was a small town New Englander. That's what the character was. But Fred had the character that was called Titus Moody. I mean, Titus Moody was Fred's name.
I'd like to interrupt to say that I was playing on the Allen show in the Allen's Alley a little Irishman by the name of Ajax Cassidy. This phone call one day, man said, he said, I represent the Irish people in New York, and we're going to picket your show unless you cease and desist immediately doing this spoof of the great and honorable Irish people. I said, exactly how many of you are there? Well, he said, there's millions. There's all kinds of... He said, there's a large group, and with... I said, subscribers to the Irish Echo, or the Pilot in Boston, or are you a national group like the Irish Republican Army? Well, no, he said, it's within the neighborhood. There's quite a bunch of us. I said, what comprises this bunch? Well, he says, there's a friend of mine and a widow lady who lives downstairs.
End of riot. End of demonstration.
The alley was an important part of the show, but Fred's opening was just as important. His was very important commentary. Then there was the alley, then there was the interview with the guest, then the guest sketch, and then that was the show. I think Fred opened up the whole idea of topical commentary. I think until that time, everybody was depending pretty much on sketches, a lot that had been brought up from vaudeville and review and so forth. And Fred began to mention actual people, actual places, actual events, and to use them as takeoffs for comedy. Fred read 9 or 10 papers a week, and we all read all the local papers, and we'd clip clippings that we thought might have some bearing or might have possibility of a joke. He was constantly on the lookout for something in the news.
Earlier in the evening, this telegram arrived from Washington. It says, "Dear Fred Allen, be careful what you say tonight. Remember what happened to me. Signed, Henry Wallace." Now, many people wonder why over a week elapsed before Henry was asked for his resignation. Well, the truth is that the president didn't know what to do until he heard from Drew Pearson. Well, enough about politics, ladies and gentlemen. It is nice to come to Minneapolis where things are so quiet and orderly. When I left New York last week, a nimbus of havoc hung over the city. Everybody heard that on information, please. Always wanted to use. But everybody in New York seemed to be out on strike. The stock market went down. Meat was selling for more than General Motors when I left. Meat was so scarce, the city put up a sign in the lion's cage at the zoo, "Do not throw meat out to people."
The reason they call radio a medium is because nothing's well done on it. A conference of radio executives is a meeting at which a group of men who singly can do nothing agree collectively that nothing can be done. A network vice president is a man who comes into his office every morning and finds a molehill on his desk. He has until 5 o'clock to make that molehill into a mountain. I have just returned from Boston. It is the only sane thing to do if you find yourself up there. All the sincerity in Hollywood you could stuff into a flea's navel and still have room enough left over to conceal 8 caraway seeds and an agent's heart.
Well, Fred, what's on your mind? I've just finished a picture called It's in the Bag.
Aren't you forgetting, Fred, that I, too, have in your picture?
Rudy, how can I forget? After all, I wrote that part for you. I'm all set now. I'm staying at the home of one of the big producers at the studio. Rudy, you should see that house. What luxury. Even for Hollywood, that guy is overdoing it.
Is it really that luxurious?
Rudy, it's the first house I've ever seen where the mousetraps are baited with cheese souffle. And those furnishings, the rugs are the softest I've ever seen. Why, you sink so deep in them that you can entertain dinner guests in your shorts without them ever knowing it. I stayed at Jack Benny's house for a while. That was murder. I lost 20 pounds in my watch the first week.
Doesn't Jack have any food around his place?
Food. The mice run through Benny's house with tears in their eyes, Rudy.
What is Jack charging his guests these days?
Well, $18 European plan, and it's the same American plan.
You mean there's no difference?
No, you get the same amount of food, but with the American plan, Benny hangs a flag in your room.
Fred worked in a piano store in Boston, where he was from. And then he worked in a library. And while he was in the library, he had a chance to read, and he loved reading, and he read so many things, diversification of things. And then he went into vaudeville and did many different acts. He was a juggler at one point.
The world's worst juggler.
The world's worst juggler, yeah.
World's worst ventriloquist, too.
Did he do ventriloquist?
Freddie St.
Yes.
James, he took the name. John Florence Sullivan is his square name.
Portland joined in, and the act went so badly that he finally put a flag up on the screen and played Columbia the Gem of the Ocean.
Yeah. She lived for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she was a beautiful chorus girl that he fell in love with.
No, but on the show, she was a little girl.
Little iodine girl. Almost a Gracie Allen character.
Almost.
Yeah.
Fred wanted to go into television with a show, and it's a real sadness, with a kind of a show that has become increasingly popular on television. He wanted to go into television with a talk show. But in those days, the rigid formulas were in, and so NBC put him in a show called the Colgate Comedy Hour, 1-hour show with choreographers and dancing girls and everything. And if you remember the times, this was during the Cold War, and it was a time when you weren't to rock the boat. So you couldn't do anything controversial or anything like that, and that was Fred's stock in trade. Not controversy necessary, but topical. So he went back and adapted some of his old radio spots, and they didn't adapt very well. When you got them up on their feet in front of the camera, they just didn't turn out to be too great entertainment.
There was a certain type of imaginative comedy that could be written for and performed only on radio. But we are living in a machine age, and for the first time the comedian is being compelled to compete with the machine. The successful comedian is on a treadmill to oblivion.
Television inherited situation comedy from radio. In the 30s, the most popular show of this kind was Amos and Andy. Freeman Gosden and Charles Correll started it all. The program, The Goldbergs, ran them a close second. In the 40s, the top situation comedy was Fibber McGee and Molly. Here's Jim Jordan, who played Fibber McGee. He no longer lives at radio's most popular address, 79 Wistful Vista, but he's about to go back there now.
The Johnson Wax Program with Fibber McGee and Molly. The makers of Johnson's Wax products for home and industry present Fibber McGee and Molly with Bill Thompson, Gail Gordon, Arthur Q. Bryant, and me, Harlow Wilcox. The script is by Don Quinn and Phil Leslie. Music by the King's Men and Billy Mills Orchestra.
McGee, it's Mayor Latrivia. Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Hello, Molly. McGee.
Hi, Latriv. Sit down briefly. According to my schedule, I can give you 1 minute and 10 seconds, boy.
I'll settle for the 10 seconds, McGee. I've had it. Good day.
Oh, no, Mr. Mayor. Don't go. You just sit right here and visit with me a while. Himself here's on a tighter schedule than the Berlin airlift, but I'm loafing.
I'm putting the housework on a business basis, Latriv. Everything on schedule. Efficiency, boy. You ought to try that at the City Hall sometime.
I'm trying to get several efficiency measures through the City Council now, McGee.
Oh?
In fact, I had lunch at the hotel with President Bates of the council yesterday to talk about it.
Bates?
Oh.
Isn't he the man who fought you so hard the last time you ran for mayor, Mr. Mayor? And you had lunch with him?
Yes. Yes, if it will help to improve our government, Mrs. McGee, I can work with him. Politics, you know, make strange bedfellows.
How was that again, Latriv?
Oh, I merely remarked that politics make strange bedfellows. You see...
Did you have to stay overnight, Mr. Mayor?
Overnight? Where?
At the hotel where you had lunch. You said there was a strange fellow in your bed, so naturally...
No, McGee, I didn't mean that.
McGee found a horse in his bed one time. Yeah, he found a horse in his bed one time at a Legion convention, Mr. Mayor. But a bed full of strange politicians is worse.
Yeah.
You can shoot a horse, but a politician...
Please, just a minute. When I said politics make strange bedfellows...
You said a mouthful, boy. You really did. I went to a political rally in Chicago one time and had to share a room with 2 fat senators and a ward healer named Beeler. Was there a healer named Beeler in your room, Latrivia? Because
No, there wasn't. I didn't have any room. I didn't say I had a room. There wasn't any room at all. Do you understand?
I'll say we understand, boy. The way them hotels ram 6 or 8 politicians into a room that was built for 3 brooms in a bucket, there ain't room in the room for anybody. How could you sleep that way, Latrivia, with all...
I didn't creep that way.
Huh?
I leaped that day. Hey! I mean, look.
Now. Mr. Mayor, don't shout. Every day's noise won't settle this.
Oh, sir, be calm, boy. We're your friends, Latrivia.
Heaven help me.
Now, you said you went to a luncheon, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
And then you said politics make strange bedfellows.
Yes, but I was...
Tell me one thing. Was there a ward healer named Beeler there? Because of all the strange bedfellows, he snored louder than...
There wasn't any strange bedfellow. A strange bedfellow. A lead fellow. Look! When I said politics make strange strange bedfellows, I didn't say anything about a strange room full of politicians. Full of politicians. 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 You're the one that said it. I didn't... You always... You...
McGee?
Yes, boy?
I'd like to ask a favor. The police department pistol team is shooting target practice tomorrow morning. Would you help them out?
Oh, he'd love to, Mr. Mayor.
I'll be there, boy. Hey, what do they shoot at, Latriv?
You'll find out.
Gail Gordon, who did Mayor Latrivia.
Always the same way. Always great.
Fibber McGee and Molly there was a lot of fantasy. Took place in a mythical town, of course, called Wistful Vista. This town was mythical, and the street they lived on was mythical. Wistful Vista was not a small town either. It was a huge metropolis if we wanted it to be. It was anything we wanted it to be. You know, the basis of all humor back in the beginning of the theater and so on was the lie.
Mr. McGee, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to inform you that you are now the champion liar of the world.
But he was always a liar and a bum. He never did anything. He never worked. And just a guy that caused trouble. He always got in fights with his friends. And he'd insult them, and he wouldn't play fair with them or anything else. But how he kept his friends, nobody knows, but he did. That's what was amazing. And this is what people enjoyed. Doc Gamble, he shouldn't have been a friend of a bum like this guy was, but he was because he enjoyed him, and he felt that he was better. Actually, we all think we're better than that guy, which we are, I hope.
Well, for goodness sakes, McGee, look who just came in. Hello, Dr. Gamble.
Hello, my dear. Hi, Doc. And what are you doing in the magic shop, Fumble Thumb? If you're trying to find out how to make yourself disappear, please do so and have them send me the bill.
May I ask what you're doing in here, Doctor? Are you a magician?
Is he a magician? You ever see his wizard thermometer? He sticks it under your tongue and pulls $300 out of your pocket.
Look, Wobble Jaw. I'm an even-tempered man, and I dislike to brawl in public. But a few more of your snide comments, and I shall be forced to throw a few knuckles into your unpaid 14th.
Who's going to throw whose knuckles into whose what? Why, you creaky old has-been that never was, you make one move toward me, and I'll stomp your mushy old frame right into the woodwork.
Oh, yes? Don't forget I've seen your muscles, such as they are. And I happen to know you couldn't go 2 rounds with Margaret O'Brien. You are softer than the obligato to Mother McCree.
Boys. My goodness, after all.
Well, I don't think my character came from me. I mean, I don't think I was Fibber McGee in the least. I think I was the direct opposite from Fibber McGee. I didn't have a dirty closet. I wasn't a liar. I was very, I couldn't tell a lie and get away with it if I wanted to. I don't think I was the same as Fibber McGee. I think that was just a character that I played. That's the way I've always felt about it. The bell would ring, and that would be the entrance cue for whoever it was, of course.
Hello there, Mr. Wimple.
Oh, hi, Wimp.
Hello, folks. Taking a little stroll, Mr. Wimple?
Yes, in a way, Mrs. McGee.
Oh.
But mostly I'm sort of a refugee.
Mm-hmm.
Sweetie Face, that's my big old wife, you know.
Yes, we know.
She's giving a bridge party for a lot of matrons.
What do you mean, matrons? Older women?
No, I mean matrons from the county jail.
Come in.
Oh, hi, old-timer.
Hello, Mr. Old-Timer.
Hello there, kids. Hey, what you doing with a rope around your neck, Johnny?
Oh, I was just getting ready.
Oh, don't do it, Johnny. Things can't be that bad, boy.
Well, he's just going to see...
Well, reconsider, Johnny. Don't be hasty. What if you are a dismal failure in life? Well, when I was your age, Johnny, I was a failure, too. Not as bad as you are, but a failure. Now, look at me. No, that ain't gonna sell him, is it?
Come in.
Well, hello, Mrs. McGee. Hello, little chum.
Gildersleeve.
Hi, nice to see you, Mr. Gildersleeve. Won't you have a chair and a cup of tea?
No, thank you, Mrs. McGee. I can't stay but a moment. I just dropped in to say goodbye. Oh, my lawnmower.
What about your lawnmower?
McGee never returned it, and I'm going to need it in Summerfield.
Now, wait a minute, Gildersleeve. You know very well that ain't your own lawnmower.
It is, too. You borrowed it.
It was mine, and you borrowed it.
Boys. My goodness.
Well, I'd go to answer the phone or go to take down the phone to get a number, and I'd say,
Hello, operator. Give me the residence of Throckmorton P. Goodfoot. Huh? Oh, is that you, Mert?
No. Dear, oh dear.
How's every little thing, Mert?
and I'd say, oh, is that you, Mert? Well, how's every little thing, Bert? Is that so? What? He did what? Oh, your beautiful Afghan, huh? Lost it. Well, what happened? Oh, I see. You went back to Afghanistan.
I never saw such a man. You either work like fury for a few minutes or you sit down doing nothing.
I know. I'm a member of the sweater set. I either sweat or set. Don't you get it, Molly? I says I'm a member of the sweater set.
Ain't funny, McGee.
We grew up together. We were young teenagers together in the same town, Peoria, Illinois. That's where we met, of course. And that's where we were married, and then we went into show business after we were married. To go back to the early days of radio, there were very few women that really could speak and be heard and liked. She had the voice for this. She was the balancing influence that kept him from going to jail or having somebody beat him up. She kept things on a kind of an even keel. Well, the material would come from our own lives, and it would come from the lives of the people on the show. And the more real it was, the better it was. The more believable a situation could be, why, the easier it was to get laughs with it.
Hey, remember when we were kids in Peoria and I built that big hollow snowman with a tunnel under it, and I'd crawl into it at night and talk to people when they walked past? Remember that?
Yeah. Ah, we went on some beautiful sleigh rides in Peoria, too.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the first time you ever kissed me was the night you rented the cutter from the livery stable.
Well, I had to kiss you, Tootsie. Had too much invested to waste the evening. Besides, holding hands is all right in the summertime, but when it comes mitten weather, a man has to establish better contacts.
I'll bet tonight would be a beautiful night for a sleigh ride, McGee.
I know where I can get a sleigh. Farmer friend of mine out on Route 62, Mel Hess. His name is Mel of the Hess, but they call him Mel for short. He'll rent us a sleigh. Well, I'll call old Mel then, huh?
What's his number, dearie?
I don't know. I got it wrote down in a little book here somewhere. Oh, I know. It's right here in the hall closet.
I hate sleigh
no,
rides,
it won't
McGee.
take a minute. I know.
Charlie? Yes, Bergen? If you had your life to live over again, what changes would you make? Well, let's see. If I had my life to live over again, I would make the same mistakes here. Only start sooner this time. Get the point? Yeah, I get it, yes.
I love this band.
Well, hello again. This is Buck Benny speaking. We have a really cool special for you from 1972. This was, it's called The Great Radio Comedians, and it really does a nice job of showing us and letting us experience the great radio comedians. I was amazed at how much footage was in here that I'd never seen before, or stuff where I've heard audio of it, but I've never seen the actual filmed footage of it. So that's pretty cool, the way they found so much of that. And Jack's piece is a piece, like I say, I've heard many times before. I've never seen it. So this is the first of actually seeing Jack do an interview. I was going, is this a different one that I've never seen? I was excited, but then he started talking. I was like, wait a minute, I've heard this exact thing before, but that's okay. It was great seeing it. So anyway, and what I'll do is I'll bring at least one of the Jack pieces. Jack appears multiple times in here, and I'll just take one of the sections of it and move that to the front so you guys, because we're here because we're Jack Benny fans, so you get a chance to experience that. Because the first Jack Benny part, I don't think really comes up until like a half hour in or something like that, if I remember right. But if you are a big fan of Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy, they get a really nice, they're probably the most, present, the most, their piece was done, you could tell, for this special. I think the rest of them, they were grabbing like interviews and things that they maybe done other places, but some of them were done for this. I mean, I certainly think at the end, Fibber McGee, who's, anybody got his name?
I don't remember who plays Fibber McGee.
It's all right. Somebody's going to get on us for not knowing Fibber McGee's name. But anyway, he definitely was doing it for this show for sure. Anyway, but let's go around and introduce everybody. So I have Kathy Fuller Seeley. Kathy, her new book, where is it? Just came out.
There you
And
go,
I
volume
actually have,
4.
we have battling copies of it.
There you go, dueling jacks.
Is yours the
jacks.
paperback? Yours is the paperback.
Yes,
yeah?
mine's the paperback. So
Yeah. Well, let's show them the bonus that they get. The paperback.
Splurge for the hardback, because otherwise
They were not
Mary
Mary
gets
fans.
ousted, so.
They cut off Mary's face. But on the hardback, you get Mary
all of Mary
and the whole thing,
as
all of
it
Mary.
should be.
It's lovely.
As it
And
should be.
it's a wonderful hardback version, and we have. It's a fourth in the series, and all four different colors.
This is we're up to the first Chevrolet series. So that's what volume 4 covers, the spring of 1933, a very tumultuous time, in the same way now we're living in tumultuous times.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I'll share one quick thing about this that I was just noticing. I'm going back and I'll be sharing them on YouTube too, and some of you might tune in. Where I'm going to go to the beginning of Jack Benny, the very beginnings of his radio performances, and present those to you. And I'm just about to present the very first one. And of course, that is the very first script that's in her very first book, right? So the second one that I'm presenting is the second available episode, okay? That goes through her entire first book, all new stuff, all stuff that we don't have, right? Except for that first one. Her entire second book, right? All new scripts, things we've never get a chance to experience in any way. You can't listen to them.
I'm gonna buy him a Lamborghini for this.
Most of her third book, right? Up until, right?
Wow. That's the second available episode.
The second available episode is right there towards the end. This is the beginning of the book. This is what's after it. So you're talking a lot of missed stuff in between. It's so the one I think is May 1932, and the second episode isn't all the way until the 1st of January 1933, and that was them being on twice a week in that whole time frame. So it was a lot of episodes. I believe it's 50 that are in between the two, at least. Something like that, 50 something.
I'm going to buy you a Matchbox Lamborghini.
Yeah, you should.
For your sales efforts. Thank you.
So pick these up, read them, and pick them up soon so you can read them in between my presentations of the 2 episodes, one this week, one next week. So you've got a week in between to read 50 scripts. So there you go. Anyway, onward and upward. We have John Henderson here. Hey, John.
Hello.
From This Day in Jack Benny. And we're getting close to starting a new season, about another month out, I guess, right? Because Jack's shows, they start late. I guess all the radio shows start in October-ish, maybe the last few weeks of September, but you would think they'd start in August or something, but no, they don't. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to that too, to start our new season. And this season, I've realized it's a weird season. It's for me, it's where I'm presenting the 51. So it's the 1950-51 season I'll be presenting, and the 1940. How does that work? I don't even know what I'm presenting. Anyway, one thing I'm doing is there's going to be less presentations than I normally do. And so I can fill that gap by going back and doing these first radio shows, like I said, that I'm doing. But I'm also taking the newest tools we have. There's some AI tools and things that I've gotten that I've been able to play with, where you can really clean up the sound on those old episodes. And so you can actually hear Jack and hear Mary and hear what they're saying. So I'm going to go back and try and fix as many of those as I can so they're at least listenable. The downside is Jack doesn't always sound exactly like Jack, but you'll get Mary always sounding like Mary.
Yeah.
Can you just take Kathy's scripts and go to AI and say, generate audio?
Probably could. Probably
Soon,
We're about there now.
Soon those scripts will probably be made into full-blown shows. We'll see. And then we, of course, have our Hollywood man. Our man in Hollywood posted just standing there on the corner, waiting patiently. It's Terry. Hey, Terry, it's good to have you, man.
Hey there, it's good to be back.
Yeah. So, Terry, what are you working on now and things? What's going on?
Well, I was just looking at my calendar. It has been very close to a year since the last episode of Imaginary Theater premiered. I've been writing another stage play, but as I get close to finishing it, I'm thinking what I'd really like to do is adapt it as an episode of Imaginary Theater first. So it might be that on the 1 year anniversary of the last episode, I will have a new Imaginary Theater episode to share.
Awesome.
I'm hoping.
Looking forward to it. That'll be really cool. The other thing I was thinking about, if you don't mind, is I've got a bunch of like new watchers and listeners and things all over the place, it seems like. Would you mind if I went through and started sharing like some of the early ones?
Oh, that'd be fine. That'd be great.
Again? Okay.
They're fabulous.
And then I'll always, link and mention your site and where to get to them directly, but I just feel like they deserve to get more exposure and things.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, not a problem. So, anyway, today you're going to see you're going to see great interviews of a lot of famous stars and everything. A lot of our heroes and things from comedy, from radio. But you're also going to see a lot of radios because they like to show the radio as you're listening with them or listening to the show. Having said that, I've never got a chance to show off my radio yet that a listener sent in to me. So in the Orsons that we play, we always talk about these Lear radios and that Orson would give away a Lear radio every week. And a table model is what he would give away, the 1995 model from back in 1946. So this is a Lear radio from that time frame that I got sent in. I don't know. I assume maybe it's the 1995 model. I don't know. It could be a slightly more expensive model. I'm not sure. It's not the one that has the tape thing on it.
Sorry, you mean $19.95, not the year 1995, right?
I mean 1995, the money, $19.95. Yeah, so I'm saying it might be that model back then. Now it probably sells for a lot more than that. Anyway, the one I got, which is amazing, it's here. Let me see if I can coat this thing up here. This is a beautiful model.
Cool.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Oh, that's beautiful. What's the case made out of? Is it wood?
Yeah, it's wood. It came in a light wood or a dark wood. And what's funny is when he contacted me, he let me choose whether I wanted the dark wood or the light wood. He had one of each. So I'm like, I kind of like the light wood. And he's like, okay, we'll go with that. And then it says on there, Lear radio, right on the dial. And the dial's totally preserved and everything. And what's amazing is he hooked it up so that I can listen to it via Bluetooth, and so I can play all my shows through it, which is awesome. But and that it didn't really surprise me. I knew he was making it somehow where I could use it. But what surprised me is then he said, well, and you can plug it into the wall like a regular radio if you want. And it'll actually tune in radio. It works.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that insane? So he made it so it works either way. I got like a toggle switch and could go back between radio and go back. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Just to let you know, if you were to buy that $19.95 radio today, it'd be $354.
Wow.
So you're getting some quality there. So.
Yeah. Look at that. Thank you so much. That is so nice of you.
Me and the inflation calculator.
Yeah. And I'd say his name, but I didn't ask permission yet, so I don't know if I'm supposed to say it. Some people tell me, never say my name on the air. And other ones are like, you can say my name. So anyway, whatever. We'll figure it out, and I'll mention him later if I get a chance. He's also, he was telling me about these novels he's written and never published or anything. They're just kind of for his own enjoyment. And so I said, well, why don't you, because he's got this great voice. He's got a great voice. I think he's done voiceover work and things, and he actually he's linked me to another friend of his that actually knew Mel Blanc, and so
Wow.
so we're going to have him on to interview about Mel Blanc at some point. I think we might even do it for the upcoming. Mel Blanc's going to appear with Jack on the Johnny Carson show very soon on our timeline that we're following, and so then we'll present it with that, which would be pretty cool. Anyway, so he linked me to him, and he learned to do voice work through. They both, I mean, he learned what his friend learned from Mel Blanc some, and then he passed a lot of that knowledge on to our listener, which is great. And then his voice is so great. I said, well, why don't you like try audio recording them, and I'll put them on if you do that sort of thing, or we'll try it. And he did it and did a really nice job. And so he's really professional at doing this stuff. And so we're going to be presenting that at some point. I really want to wait on it, let him get a few episodes ahead anyway, because as you know, my podcast is currently like half down, but I got tired of waiting for me to figure out what I'm doing. And so I just said, oh, I can create one in a heartbeat. So I just created another one. So it's called Breaking Benny. And so if you want to tune into Breaking Benny, kind of a take on Breaking Bad, but Benny, also kind of what I'm doing is Breaking Benny to fix the episodes. I don't know. Some people might say fix, some people might say break. I don't know. So we'll see as we get in there how broken or fixed they are. But anyway, tune in any pod. You just search for Breaking Benny and you'll find us, or Breaking Benny, Buck Benny, and you'll find us. So there we go. That's enough for me. Enough for all of us. We should get on to this show. So let's head over to I don't know, Terry. What did you notice about this thing that stood out to you? And had you ever heard or seen it before or anything? Or
I've seen a few of the clips that were in this, but for the most part, no, this was new to me, and it was really wonderful to see a lot of these really iconic performers from the golden age of radio. I liked very much that they had a chorus singing RADIO
yeah,
in the style of JELLO.
I love
The
that.
announcer, I was curious to know about Ken Roberts, and I discovered that Ken Roberts was the father of Tony Roberts, the
Oh,
actor who appeared
wow.
in many Woody Allen pictures, for example. And in fact, Ken Roberts' voice is heard in, I think, Radio Days, among many other things. He was an announcer on The Shadow, on Easy Aces, Candid Camera, did a lot of soap opera work, and had just a perfect voice for an announcer. Unaccented pronunciation was perfect, and it was really great to see him. Kathy, I know you'll talk more about the producer director, Perry Miller Adato, but one of the things I learned about her was that she had started out wanting to be an actress, but then got the uh, the bug for making documentaries, and she's done a lot of those, or did a lot of those. There were two other credits that I noticed. They gave a credit to a guy named Chuck Shaden. Do you all know that name?
I know that name.
Yeah, okay. So,
Chuck
and I think
Chuck
he had a book also
Chuck
called,
interviewed a lot of radio history.
yeah.
He's huge into old time radio. One of the all time what the folks that we get into. What's really cool with Chuck that he did recently, or the last 15 years or something, he he'd interviewed all these folks and put them all in. He had a book that he put them all in the book, but then with internet websites and the whole thing, he decided to throw them all the interviews he'd done, all the tapes of all of them onto his site. Speaking of Radio, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And the Speaking of Radio site just has interview after interview after interview that you can go through and listen to and find. It's got almost I wouldn't say everybody from the, well, it's got pretty much everybody but Rochester's. Eddie Anderson didn't do a lot of interviews, and I don't know exactly why that is, but I'm sure he was asked many times. But anyway, it has Don, it has Jack, it has Dennis, it has Phil, it has Alice Faye, boy, and then everybody you can think of who is anybody from whether it's Fibber McGee interview and all these folks. It was because he did them in, I think he started in 70 that he started doing the interviews, maybe 69 to 70 something, some all the way up to 80 or 90, 1990. But there's must be 200, 150
Wow.
that he's done. So there's just a ton of them, and they're
And writers
so
and
many
everything.
folks were alive still at that time. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, so they
And
credited
one of the cool things that he did in the last 5 or so years is I interviewed him on This Day in Jack Benny. So if you want to learn more about him, you can go there.
Cool.
So they credited Chuck Shaden's Hall Closet, which I guess was a tip of the hat to Fibber McGee and Molly.
That's right. Yeah.
And then finally, there was a credit to the University of Texas Theater Collection. Kathy, do you know what that would have been for?
I have no idea, but gosh, I'll go find out. So.
All right.
John, was the interview that they played of Jack in this the Chuck Shaden interview?
I don't know. I've only heard audio interviews. I wouldn't be able to make the connection.
Okay.
Ms. Adato's website claims that, and newspaper reviews that I saw, claims she did interview him on camera for this. So that she did those interviews
of Jack Benny.
Benny, Burns,
Okay.
Jim Jordan was Fibber McGee.
There we go.
So finally,
I knew it. It was right there on the tip.
They did. I mean, they did. I mean, I guess you can't tell, but it did look like these interviews were made for this documentary. So obviously they were. And I think I've seen photos of him with Jack Benny, and it's with a little recorder, and so it's
it's not. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, let's go over to John then. John, what stood out in this thing to you?
I thought this was so great. I mean, obviously it's right up my wheelhouse. I love old time radio. I'm so familiar with these radio shows. I mean, I'm not as familiar with all of them, but I'm familiar enough that I skipped through a lot of the actual old radio clips. And I just went for the new stuff and the interviews and things like that. And I was afraid when I saw sort of the opening title where it's a picture of a radio, that it was all just going to be staring at pictures of radio and listening to old time radio shows. But when they started, and they had sort of moving film of people listening to radios with the radio underneath, I thought that was really cool. And I do think they did pretty well most of the time to get some like interesting visuals when you were listening to radio clips. In particular, I thought it was a great seamless transition where they recreated Allen's Alley with all of the Allen's Alley cast that was there. And you didn't even notice the cuts between the original audio. It was really well done. And those characters that they were playing back in the 40s were all old, and so they totally fit them now.
I agree. I noticed the same thing. I was like, oh, they could have filmed a television show with these people and you wouldn't have questioned it with the characters. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that was, I feel like, one of the highlights and really interesting. I love to see Jack Benny in sort of just this casual, regular clothes or the style he chose to wear for that. And it really different than we've ever seen Jack Benny before, being interviewed like a real person instead of like a character. I thought that was fascinating and interesting. It's also interesting to hear his take on things, sort of the idea that you can't sit down and decide what kind of character you're going to be. You just kind of have to let it happen. Now, I don't know how much of that is totally true for everything that he was saying. I think some of it was a little more planned than he let on. Mm-hmm. But in general, I think his idea that, you can't say, okay, I'm going to be charming and likable, but rather you sort of just get out there and see what sort of cream rises to the top. So yeah, a lot of those little insights, I think, were the most fun parts. I loved seeing George Burns. Edgar Bergen seemed like he maybe even got slightly better at ventriloquism. Yeah. Maybe. I have a story of this. his daughter Candy, saying, "Yeah, I can kind of see your lips moving." Even when
Exactly.
she
I
was,
love that piece. That was so fun to watch. And then just the way he could still, at the time when this is filmed, pull off Charlie and be perfect. I
if you
mean,
look at the puppet, it's beautiful, and you're right. Yeah, he
yeah, I
didn't
mean, the
lose it.
voice was, it was, because not many, I don't think many of the players could actually go back and actually nail it. Now, the folks from Allen's Alley really did it. They did it seamlessly, and it was great. Um, with Jack, his voice had aged some and things. I don't think he could pull off all of a sudden sounding like he was from 1945. Whereas,
other than Phil Harris, I'm not sure any of the Jack Benny cast could have in
correct.
1970.
No, agreed. I don't think they could have, but it was, I just wouldn't have expected that he could pull off Charlie that well. Even Mel Blanc, when he does in the 70s, does Bugs Bunny, does all these voices, you can tell it's an older Mel Blanc doing it than a younger Mel.
But from what I understand, Bergen, really channeled some part of his personality, a different personality, into Charlie. So can you imagine living all those years at home if Bergen's got, I forget Mortimer Snerd, but can you imagine breakfast with Charlie McCarthy 20 years later?
Well, and
John, I'm glad you mentioned that they were playing older people. I think Parker Fenley said that he was playing old men from when he was very young. The guy who did Titus Field.
Yeah, and it's a character they do, and that's the thing. I think if it's a character, it's not your normal voice. Your chances of being able to pull off that character, even when you get older, is probably better than if you're using just your normal voice and trying to sound younger again. I was going to say about that though. The other thing is, you're Edgar Bergen, and you're used to performing with Charlie McCarthy all the time, or a lot of the time. Then all of a sudden you stop.
Right.
For a decade or something.
Do television.
Yeah, and do you miss that? Is it like missing a friend or something? I don't know. I don't know
Again,
what that
at
would
home.
be like. Yeah, I'm just saying he's at home and he's like, well, I haven't talked to Charlie in a long time. And
I wouldn't be surprised if he would just, take it and go to the mall or whatever they had, and anytime he
that's
wanted to
true.
pull out
He
Charlie
probably entertained folks all over the place and went to the equivalent of conventions before conventions, sort of thing. And personal appearances and stuff. And
no, I think he was a very private guy who, just.
One thing that I found interesting is, I'd never seen the third puppet. I knew Charlie and Mortimer Snerd, and apparently his third big puppet I'd never even heard of.
Clinker?
So.
Yeah.
No, is that her name? It was a woman.
Yeah, what's her name? Clinker. It's
okay.
Is her last name?
So I found that interesting.
I agree too. I didn't realize that she had a puppet.
Effie, something.
Effie, Effie Clinker, yeah.
Right.
But he did a great job with her puppet, and it was a beautiful puppet. And I was like, oh, that's neat seeing that, because I'd heard.
All that you could see it on radio.
Yeah. Well, now now the thing is, once you've seen it, now whenever I hear her on radio, I will instantly, my mind will go back to what at least it envisions what that puppet looks
as people did with Charlie McCarthy, which I think is one of the reasons that it worked on radio, just from like newspaper advertisements. Once you see it, then you can make that sort of.
Yeah.
Well, it's
and
so funny
is
because
worse than that movie they made where they have a little boy in a Charlie suit. Oh, that was the most horrific.
Yeah. Well, and for me, so I'd be listening to the radio show, and I'd hear he'd be talking to Mortimer Snerd, and I could totally picture Mortimer Snerd because I'd seen him, right? Either, like you say, in print media or on a TV show or a movie somewhere, whatever. I'd seen him. And then Charlie McCarthy, same thing. Then he talked to Effie Clinker, and I wouldn't see a puppet. In my brain, it would be an actress playing off of him.
Okay.
Weird how your mind works that way. Now I know it's always going to be substituted with this other
people
thing.
Back in the 40s would have had like radio fan magazines, and they'd have pictures of Effie Clinker. So you could stare at your radio fan magazines if you weren't staring at the radio itself.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Cool. Anyway, well, that brings us over to Kathy. Kathy, what's something that's
I was really impressed and touched to think that this was made in 1972. Mm-hmm. This is, how could it been Okay, and they wanted to talk about radio in the 40s. So 25 to 30 years ago. And my heavens, Seinfeld is 25 to 30 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
if we think the great, I mean, Mary Tyler Moore and Bob Newhart. So, there, it seems to me Perry Miller Adato, who's a female documentary maker, really was aiming for this audience. I think the older audience that dearly remembered the things from 30 years ago. And then and I think it's interesting that she focused a lot on folks who hadn't made it in television. The Jim Jordans,
Fred Allen.
Fred Allen being gone, and Bergen having not done television. So that she spent a bit of extra time on them. I was really struck by how bad the sound was, and I really wish, I was gonna say, Buck, could you clean it up a bit? But that's what she had to work with, back in the day, and so it made me think how lucky we are to have these incredible tools to make to make old radio sound like it just came out of speakers somewhere. So I'm both grateful for that, but I'm sure the old timiness of it served a purpose for the nostalgia and memories that this documentary maker wanted to create and bring back for her listeners. It was the early days of the late lamented Corporation for Public Broadcasting here in May 1972 when it was put on. So, this isn't something that CBS and NBC were doing. So I'm grateful that she had that outlet to commission this wonderful program. So
yeah, I kind of knew going into this, since it was from 1972, I was like, oh, we're going to hear a bunch of very bad sounding radio clips, because anytime that I've ever heard anything from like the 60s on up through the 90s, where they're sharing old radio clips of some sort, whether it's a tribute to some actor or something, they seem to just be able to grab whatever's at hand, and whatever's at hand is usually very bad sounding.
Right. And it's just,
whereas
right.
it's not even the digital fixing. It's more like them finding, because what collectors essentially did, they didn't fix much. They did somewhat, but it was more like, oh, I've got 3 versions here of the same show. This one sounds a lot better. I'm going to share this one and not these other ones. And then
I think
time, it's out of natural selection, sort of. The cream rises to the top, and you end up having these better sounding episodes. And then on top of it, if you take modern technology and go through and clean those up even a little bit more, you get stuff sounding like they recorded, last week instead of.
I agree. I'm going to say the same thing in another way, which is, you at that time, all that you had if you wanted to get a copy is a copy of a copy of a copy.
Yes.
So you've got all these people with all these different copies of copies. And now that we have the internet, they're all available, and you can find, oh, this is the best one. And then that's one that's shared to everybody.
Right.
And it never ceases to amaze me that it was the collectors and fans that have made old time radio. The networks didn't give a hoot. The sponsors and the ad agencies were the ones that had owned and created the programs. And it was just yesterday's fish wrap. It was like saving a week-old newspaper. I want to hit a fabulous new book by my colleague Nora Patterson is all about this creation of old-time radio and bootleggers and things like that. So I highly recommend. You can get it on Amazon. But Bootlegging the Airwaves has recently won a slew of prizes from broadcast history organizations for detailing this hard work of people who love the old stuff. And it wasn't the corporate sponsors or the networks at all who made this stuff available for us 50 years later.
Well, hold that up again for a second, Kathy. Because look at there. You can see those are videotapes, correct? I believe VCR tapes. For a while, they would change, like they used cassette tapes and they used reel-to-reels, and then they went to using, because they could hold so much on these 6 hours worth of things like that, so they would hold on the VCR tapes. One thing that I find I hear less of now, but early on when we were first getting MP3s and all of that, that I got a lot of was collectors who were frustrated, who'd spent years amassing a collection that took them 25 years to get this collection of Jack Benny shows or whatever it was. And and they said I went to conventions and traded, and we'd get together and we'd do all these things, and you'd mail away your copy of something and get a copy of something else. And they said that was exciting. It was like, I can't relate to it because I wasn't doing that. But the closest thing I can get is I was collecting comic books, and we would go to conventions and you'd try and get a series run of something. Oh, I'm missing Superman 256. I really want that one. Now, oh, I found it in good quality, or I found a lousy copy that doesn't have a cover, but I'll still take it because I don't have another copy. It was the same sort of concept. You'd go, well, oh, there's this Jack Benny show that I've never heard before that sounds terrible, but I'll take it to be part of my collection until I can replace it with something better. And all of that, but all that's gone, and now you just look on the internet and try and find what you
You're
need.
right. You know, so access is amazing today. But just as you say, that whole the years-long process of us trying, you know, I mean, so it never ceases to amaze me that here was all this intellectual property, all these programs.
Yes.
That literally you know, there was, I mean, when I teach my courses, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz in part invented the television rerun by putting their I Love Lucy on film instead of doing it on live TV. And that was one of the first programs that took a piece of broadcasting and said it could have several lives. We could monetize this over and over. But Benny didn't have that. Think of how rich he'd be. And his grandchildren, you know. So.
Well, and even the most popular radio shows were a hard sell to make. I mean, you would we used to be able to buy. You could go to, you know, if I remember going to Fred Meyer and their music section, and there on a little shelf would be there's a couple Shadow episodes, a few Gunsmokes. Really, it would be Abbott and Costello, Gunsmoke, Bob Hope, maybe a Jack Benny, and Shadow and Green Hornet, and that would be sort of it.
And before that, there were albums. And Benny's estate did get a good income for a number of years from whoever in Connecticut was putting out shows on LPs. But, you know, now you know, they used to get royalties.
Yeah.
And poof.
Well, and back then you buy 2 episodes. You get 1 episode in the front, 1 episode in the back.
Right.
And it would be, I remember when I was first buying them, they were like $4.99. And then I think at the end, they were probably $8 a piece. And so you're paying $4 an episode. And now, you know, you get them for free. But when they would actually sell them in sets and things, more or less, you'd still be only paying 20 cents an episode or something. It was
sometimes
crazy.
I go and I see if I can find a Jack Benny book that I've never heard of. See if there's anything on an audio book, right? And so I go audiobooks, I search Jack Benny, and there's all these different companies that are trying to put out old radio shows as though they're audiobook and charge $20 for them or whatever.
Yes.
Like,
some
little
old lady somewhere goes,
exactly.
Yeah. It's just like now you go to Amazon and look up their Kindle books or whatever. There's always somebody who's thrown together a 20-page overview of Jack Benny or something that they're trying to sell for $5 or something. And you're like, really? I don't think so. Anyway, so what else about this does anyone want to point out? I know we've been kind of popping all over the place.
I wanted to talk about George Burns, since we didn't talk about George Burns much. I loved the interview with George Burns. He's always great. I love what he said about Jack Benny. I will see if I can write my notes.
He just seems so blunt and honest.
Yeah, he was in no hurry. He knew how to use this space for radio. But I also found his own story with Gracie very interesting, and I hadn't really done a deep dive into their story, so that was fun and a really entertaining way to watch it. But my favorite part was when he said, like, oh, radio was easy. You just sat and you could read the lines. And there was some other guy who would go up and do the sound effects and pick up the telephone. And when you got to television, you had to go and pick up the telephone yourself, which wasn't easy.
I love that. His piece was, to me, like you said, one of the most entertaining pieces. Also, it was the most complete, talking about Gracie and his career and how it went and why they made the decisions they made. I'd heard bits and pieces of it in the midst of interviews, or somebody would ask him a question, and so you'd get a little piece. But George hasn't always been the best at filling out a whole story. He's
Doing a
more like
linear
a
narrative.
incident guy, where he relates a funny incident or something that happened, and you get a little history in there, a little tidbit, and then it moves on to a different story that he's telling. And so that's tricky. This time, his whole purpose was not to necessarily be funny, though he's still a funny guy, but it was to actually talk about radio and how their radio success came about and things. So that was charming to get that. Do we have anything else, Kathy, that you stuck out to you on this?
No, it's a fabulous piece of research, as well as I said. So a time capsule of how radio is being remembered 30 years later as something sort of gone. And as much as we were complaining about technology, I'm grateful that 50 years later we have technology that now I can listen to it, when I'm out jogging. I can put it on my, so I'm grateful that it's so much more available today than it was 50 years ago.
Well, and I get so many people commenting on my pod. I almost every episode I'll get this same thing, and I totally respect what you guys are saying. I'm not trying to criticize anybody really, but they'll say something like, "Oh, back then comedians were so funny, and nobody does anything like this anymore. No one's this funny anymore," or how entertainment was back then, it was so great, and I wish I was born at the wrong time. I should have been born back then, that sort of thing. I always look at it the other way, flip it, and am like, oh man, we live in the best time ever, because we can experience the new stuff if we want that's out there, the new comedians, the new stuff. But it's never been easier to access. If I want to watch, I can watch every episode of Seinfeld in whatever order I want. I don't have to go with, oh, what episode are they airing as a rerun on Thursdays or something, right? It's like I can watch any of it, and I can experience a tremendous more old time radio than's ever been available at the tip of your fingertips, where you can get to it. We can do introductions, things like this, to whatever shows we want, and we get a chance to talk about Jack Benny every week. We get together and we can celebrate him and celebrate those times. And I like this time, but that's me. Terry.
And you can binge Jack Benny. You don't have to wait a week.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Terry, I didn't hear, we don't often get from you. We get like facts and interesting stuff, and that's why you're here, and I love it. But I'm just curious, like, what parts of this like spoke to you that you were like, oh wow, that's something I never learned before, or I respect this comedian now in a way that I haven't before. Anything impact you like that, maybe?
Yeah. Oh, you want me to talk about that?
Yeah.
Oh,
that would be great.
We often, I mean, the conventional wisdom is that Jack Benny was the master of timing, and I especially liked him talking about timing and giving credit to the person he thought had the best timing, who was Gracie Allen, who is not someone we usually think of as having great timing. But the master of timing says she was the one. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
And
I liked Edgar Bergen's story about him having Charlie McCarthy play with his daughter Candace, and Candace saying, I think I'd heard this story before, saying, I think he asked her, isn't it wonderful that Charlie can talk? And she said, yes, Daddy, but you do move your lips a little bit. Bergen is often disparaged for being a ventriloquist on the radio. Why is that a thing? But I think he is underappreciated. We talked before about him being a great actor, and I think a great writer. I have never found any evidence that anybody was writing for him, unlike everybody else in this special. But Bergen was actually not a bad ventriloquist. He'd been doing this a long time. And having done a little amateur ventriloquism myself, I appreciate how hard that is. And he was really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And this showed some of his ventriloquism skills, which was great.
Well, he was.
I feel like ventriloquism has two things. It has the entertainment value and the characters, and that he was excellent at. And then there's the not moving your lips, right? And you got somebody like, Senior Wenceslas. You can analyze that guy in slow motion. You're not going to see anything. Whereas that's not really what Bergen was going for.
No, but he did have skills. He was one of the things that was very smart about him was that he would work in profile. If you try to do ventriloquism straight on to the audience, it's much harder. But when you do it profile, it's easier that you can talk out of the side of your mouth, the side that's upstage from the audience, and that was a clever thing that he did.
Yeah.
And well, it also makes you look like you're having a conversation with your dummy instead of with you're both talking to the audience. It's like you're talking to each other. Yeah.
And then that prompts the other thing about ventriloquism, which is it's amazing. I mean, adults do it too. It's not just kids. But when the dummy is talking, people look at the dummy, and so that distracts also from the ventriloquist's mouth.
Exactly. And he was a stage ventriloquist. Like he started out in vaudeville, where that works perfectly.
Right.
But when you're on Fun and Fancy Free on the big screen, and then you're going to notice.
It's harder to get away with it.
Other observation, I would relate him more. I wouldn't really put him up against other ventriloquists too much in my brain. I almost equate him more to like Mel Blanc, where you do so many characters and so many voices, and that's what he did. He maybe did a lot fewer than Mel Blanc did, but man, they were different. You totally got Mortimer Snerd was completely different than Charlie, and that Effie Clinker was completely different. There was no confusing them at all. Or Edgar. Edgar was a completely different person than all of those. And to manage all those characters, maybe it's a lot like Seth MacFarlane in that Seth, when you see him, I love seeing Seth on talk shows where it's just astounding. He can do like a scene from the show and do all the characters talking back and forth to each other and interrupting each other and everything. And he's doing all the voices. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I didn't really, I always figured, okay, he takes one voice doing all the parts and then does another voice and they edit them together. But he said they do that sometimes, or at least early on they did that. But then later on, it became where he could just kind of read through the script and just nail whoever happens to be in the room. And it's like, that's pretty amazing.
No, I think those are good comparisons. Yeah, totally.
That's why I get paid the big money, like my $8.40. Anyway, Terry, did you have anything else on that to say? Because that was great. So thank you. Just a wonderful piece of history to have here from 1972, and to get. I remember one more thing I was going to say about it now. I don't think this is a coincidence that it's 1972 when this comes out. In the early 1970s, certain radio stations started to play more of the old time radio stuff, and it started to gain momentum. It kind of mirrors what was happening with Star Trek. That Star Trek went off the air after 3 seasons, and it was like done, and it was just going to be on the trash heap of everything else, right? But then they started playing it nightly on local stations, and then people started enjoying it more and more and more, and that they would start doing conventions and the whole thing, right? I think the same thing was happening with old time radio, that there'd been enough time that now all of a sudden in the early 70s when they started playing it, people started to get into it. And she does this in 72. By 73, they start to have new old time radio being created. With the Radio Mystery Theater starts to come up there soon thereafter. I'm not sure what year that actually started, but I know that oh, what's his name? Plays Frank Remley, Elliot Lewis. Elliot Lewis started to make radio shows at that time. They had Zero Hour that came on with Rod Serling introducing it, and where they'd have a weekly show. I love what he did with that. He tried to have it be where it was 5 nights all telling one story. So he'd like get a novel and break it up over 5 pieces, and they'd tell this mystery over the 5 nights, and then the next week you get a different mystery over the 5 nights. The only thing that they found with that didn't work so much was that a lot of folks would tune in on, they'd have time on Tuesday and then they'd have time on Thursday to listen, and it'd be hard to follow the storyline necessarily. So when he came back in 1979 to start doing the Sears Radio Theater, that he decided to do it differently. Same thing, 5 nights a week, but instead he did 5 separate shows. But he decided, okay, I want to try and bring back all of old time radio in one shot and show them what it's like. So it'd be Monday night was a Western introduced by Lauren Green, and then Tuesday was Andy Griffith doing a comedy night, and then there'd be a comedy that would be presented after he introduced it. And then Wednesday was Vincent Price doing a horror/mystery thing. And then on Thursday it was Cicely Tyson presenting a romantic type love story. Okay. And then on Friday it was adventure/science fiction night, and it was somebody that I can't remember presenting it at first, and then season 2 switched to be Leonard Nimoy, who would be the presenter of it, which was perfect. And that was a really interesting thing they did there. But all of those things, they'd try them and they'd last for like a year or 2 years, and then they'd fade away, except for Radio Mystery Theater. That ran for like not a decade, but close. It's like 7 or 8 years that thing ran. CBS Radio Mystery Theater. And so all of that comes after this show, but very quickly after this show, and when they were experimenting with it. And what's nice is now it's another kind of golden age for audio drama sort of stuff, because we of course have audio books that people are, where they're reading a book, right? And people have fallen in love with those. And then podcasts. And so folks have been tying them together to make new things, which is what Terry does with his Imaginaire Theater, which is bringing back radio to audiences today. And there's a lot of folks like that. If you search out there for new audio presentations, dramatic or comedic or whatever it is, just like old time radio, they're there, and people are trying to do that. And I think it's really exciting. It shows how hard it is to do. Terry's sound the most professional of anything I've ever heard, other than old time radio, which is fantastic, Terry. Other folks,
when I first started
don't get the sound effects right, or their voices, they don't have the best actors, or maybe you have 3 good actors and one that's not so hot, and every time that person says their line, it kind of pulls you out of it, and you go, oh, wish I would have found somebody else.
When I first started producing Imaginaire Theater, I met with a guy from the Writers Guild in Los Angeles, and they had started a unit to train actors to be able to perform radio scripts, which is something else that we've lost over the years. That actors, there's always been the stage, but when actors were focused on television and movies, they lost that experience and skill to do radio. And it is a very specific way to perform. So I'm glad that the actors, the troupe I've been working with on Imaginaire Theater, still have those skills. Yeah. But I'm also glad that the Writers Guild is helping to train upcoming actors to do that. It's not easy. It's not obvious.
Well, I thought it was against the grain. I think your big actors now, a lot of them are sort of like, do a lot of mumbling and a lot of sort of, and that's
Brando would never have,
and
those guys would never have made it on
a lot of facial expressions they're doing, things, all that's gone. All you've got is the audio. So you mumbling, unless you mumble really entertainingly, is not going to work very well. Also, you have to enunciate clearly so people will actually hear what you're saying. And it's tricky. It's tricky. You don't want to also come across like, I'm now saying the radio performance, and this is what I love you, darling. It just doesn't work. You've got to actually have your feeling come across through your character. And like I say, Terry's players, Terry gets that out of them. And we talked about it before, Terry, where you say sometimes you have to be the kind of heavy and say, can we read that again and maybe do it slightly this way or that way? Because you got to kind of steer them a little bit, because you're just going to accept what. And I think that's one of the main problems. I think folks will get together. Like if we got together and did a radio play, we would do this thing, and we've done it, right? We've done it before with the folks in this room, and we've everybody just sort of does it, and we're like, oh, that's great. We're happy with any of it. But in reality, if you had a director there to say, oh, can we do that one again? You didn't quite hit that, or you were cut off, or Daryl talked too fast and he interrupted John and we'd missed John's last part of his line. Let's do that again. Whereas we don't want to offend each other and things. So we're just like, oh, that sounds great, and move on. Well, also, we just don't have the time to go back and do it. So it's neat with yours, Terry, that you're there to kind of keep the whole thing going and keep the professionality high and stuff.
On the flip side, it was interesting to hear them talking about these radio stars and whether they would make the transition to television, and to think that Fred Allen had the idea of doing a talk show. How great would that have been? That would have been perfect. But my favorite part of this documentary was a film clip that I'd never seen of Fred Allen and Jack Benny performing, and how Jack Benny is just cracking up. He has to like move away from the mic because it just showed that, it was fun too, and it was great.
I love that too. I mean, like you say, we hear them all the time. We've never actually been able to see them other than some of their movies that they're in together and things, but even that's a little different. So it was neat seeing them perform something that truly would be like from the radio and them doing it live in front of you. That was great. So anyway, so I guess we'll leave it there. Just a great show to have. I'm so glad I bumbled into this and got a chance to share it with you folks. Part of my goal is to entertain I always want to entertain the audience. I always want to bring something and I want to share things that bring you new insights into Jack and so forth. But a good piece of that too is bringing something that we haven't all seen before and that we can enjoy together for the first time. And it's amazing how deep that well of Jack Benny goes, that we can still find things that we've never seen before. And I think that is just a joy to have, and we'll keep on experiencing it. And I think as we're heading in after this summer, because we're still in our summer of Jack Benny specials, or Jack Benny special summer that this is part of, but we'll be heading into where we're actually getting into the regular TV shows again. And we're hitting into where we've spent a lot of time on Jack's early shows because there's a lot of history built in there. We haven't spent a whole lot of time with Jack's later television shows that we're starting to hitting. So that a lot of them, I think, are going to be new to a lot of us, which is really exciting, and for us to experience some new Jack Benny. So I hope you'll join us with that. Anyway, thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful week, everybody.
Each Sunday with you, as friend to friend, I'm sorry it's through. I'm telling you just how I feel. I hope you feel that way too. Let's make a date for next Sunday night. I'm here to stay. Will be my delight to sing again, bring again the things you want me to. I love to spend each Sunday with you.
We're a little late, folks. Thanks for listening. Good night.